Hey, everybody, welcome to this live from Turnaround Marriage. Guys, we want to share with you there is nothing I can do to save my marriage is something that we hear all the time. In fact, we just got an email this morning and even a comment on one of our ads today that said, there's nothing I can do to save my marriage. In fact, this is something that we hear on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis. And we're here to tell you that more often than not, this is actually a coping. This is something that people are saying in order to swallow the big pill of where they're at in their marriage.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing Sarah didn't believe that, and she did not buy that lie for 1 second. We're going to link below the video interview we did with her a little while ago, because she was somebody who was faced with her husband telling her, I want a divorce. I'm done with this marriage. And if you're in that situation, you want to listen very carefully to this video, okay? Because when your spouse says to you, I'm done with this marriage, that means the old marriage is dead. You have to build something brand new. It has to be something different. But if you believe the lie that there's nothing you can do, you're not going to do anything. You're going to throw your hands up. We're going to talk about why in just a second, but I just want to share about Sarah, because she said, you know what? I've got to do everything in my power to be able to shift and change. I know there's stuff he needs to fix, but I can't do anything about that. Right. What I can do is what I can do. And so what she did is she got to work right with us on herself and on her marriage quietly, without her husband really having a buy-in at first. And what was so amazing was how hungry she was for change and for growth and for healing in her own heart and life, how open she was to seeing her own patterns be called out so that she could let go of control and let go of some of the things that she was holding on to that were not serving her in her marriage, right? They had gotten very complacent, you know? Sometimes it's that you hit the 20 to 25 year mark, and that's just kind of like, is this what we're doing for the rest of our lives? No, right? So anyway, what's so beautiful is she just sent us some pictures and sent us a message saying, we had the most amazing spring break. And this was the spring break that was not supposed to happen, because my husband said it wasn't going to happen. Yep. But when she got to work on her marriage and they reconnected, and her husband was like, who are you? This is the beautiful wife I fell in love with. It was so cool. They enjoyed this beautiful vacation. And it's not just, you know, the highs of a vacation, but it's like the everyday life, the little moments, their connection, their closeness. And it's so beautiful because her two sons are like, so thrilled with the family staying together and being happier than ever.
They rejected the lie.
They did.
She did. Really?
She did.
She rejected the lie that there is nothing that she could do, because the truth is, when you have two sinners that come together, we're not talking about where there is the, abuse that's being involved, but when you have two sinners that come together, there are two sinners that come together.
Yes.
Always, right?
Yes. And what we found in our work with couples, guys, is that this statement, there's nothing I can do to save my marriage, is honestly, it's a cultivated perception. It's honestly a way to protect yourself from being vulnerable or willing to change, willing to see your own blind spots. I mean, it's really a lie from the enemy, getting you to say, you know what, there's nothing you can do, so why even bother trying? It's been dead for a long time. And honestly, when there's that self-protection up and you're just like, you know what, there's nothing I can do, I guess I'll just go to the lawyers, and go through the 7 years of grief and the emotional devastation of all of that. Here, we're not here to beat you up if you've walked that journey. We're just here to say, like, don't believe that if that's where you're at in your marriage. Let's fight for it. If there's any part of you that would regret getting divorced, you need to listen closely to what we're about to share with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is a lie that's coming. It's not just one that's cultivated, a perception, but it's a lie that comes from the enemy.
Yes.
It's something that if we're not careful, like it's kind of like, it's also might be something that friends and family are saying, oh, you've done everything you could do, dearie. Like they'll tell you the things to placate you, to make you feel good. And they may not often just tell you the truth. And the truth is, you made a vow to God, and there was a lot of people there. And if you meant that vow, it's not time to wave the white flag until you're released from it, until God does that releasing. And the enemy all the while is going to be telling you, give up. There's nothing you can do. There's no hope. God, he won't do anything. He's not powerful. He's not all powerful. There's nothing he could do. Right. And then so we go into, as Rachel, you were alluding to, like the self-protect that we go into. It's like, that's why people say it. It's like I want that. There's so much pain involved that it feels like it's easier to say it. And I've done things, and I've done a lot of laundry for my wife, and she hasn't appreciated it. Or I've really tried to lose some weight. You've tried to do some extraneous extra things on the outside of the marriage, and said, "See, look what I've done. Throw up my hands. I'm done. There's nothing else I can do." And in that self-protection, it's a dangerous place to be, because behind the scenes, it's inherently not true.
Mm-hmm.
You're not innocent. And when you have, again, two sinners that come together, you're not an innocent party.
Yeah.
And so what this usually means is when people say that they're distancing themselves from the marriage. They're starting to give up. They're starting to let go. And more than anything else, they're starting to point the fingers. I've done everything. She won't change. He won't change. Mm-hmm. So they're blaming their spouse, but that's not where it ends. They're not just blaming their spouse. They begin to blame God too, because they say things like, "Well, I've been praying. I've been calling out to God. I've been going down to the altar, and God hasn't saved it yet." And they're like, "I'm just waiting on him to do it. I'm going to hands off and going to let God do it." And they're blaming God underneath, behind the surface. That's really what it is. And when God doesn't just change them instantaneously, them not willing to do much or to change much or to get the right kind of help, they blame it on God. And that's a dangerous place. Mm-hmm. But here's the other part of that is a lot of times people are blaming the devil. "Oh, I've been under attack. The devil's been winning. The devil's got my husband." That's what it is. Mm-hmm. And you're just blame shifting. That's what inherently is the problem. And I'm not saying that there aren't other factors involved and other people involved. Of course there are. And of course the enemy doesn't want your marriage to continue. Mm-hmm. But when we look in the mirror, like Sarah did, and said, who can I be? What can I do different? That's where everything can change. And some of you that are hearing this today know that what we're saying is resonating with you. And when you're looking in the mirror and you're at that place where you're saying, "I need to do something different," that's a much healthier place to be. It's a much better way of looking at things than "I can't do anything." It's
such a good word, Scott. So today we just wanted to drop in and give you some encouragement, because there's a lot you can do in your marriage. Okay. Number one, you can help figure out the patterns that you have been stuck in, whether it's a pattern of whenever there's a certain thing that's brought up, we get pulled into the past and we start digging up our trash and all the fights we've ever been in and what happened 20 years ago. Right? What's the pattern here? Is the pattern that I don't feel heard? I don't feel seen? You remind me of my ex. I have stuff from the past I haven't healed from, I haven't dealt with, right? Is the pattern that whenever there's conflict, I shut down and you get upset and you chase me, and we don't have any tools to figure that out, right? Is the pattern that, whenever it's the in-laws get brought up, or there's no boundaries here around, extended family, and we just let stuff happen and we're not prioritizing the marriage, and we're letting the kids rule the day of where they need to go and what do they need versus what the marriage needs, right? There's so many patterns you could be stuck in. Scott and I, we noticed our patterns. We've been able to break out of so many patterns. And when they come back up, it's like, oh, there it is again. Hang on, what can we do differently? Because you have to be able to recognize that there is a pattern.
Right.
If you can't even see the pattern, well, there you go. You can't break the pattern.
That's
but
right.
you need some help first to identify the pattern. And once you have that, then you can learn how to break the pattern. Okay, what can I do differently? We're so trained to do kind of the same thing, to respond and react the same way to whatever's coming up. What if you could learn how to respond differently? What if you could learn how to deal with the stuff in your heart that just makes you so upset so quickly? What if you could learn how to deal with that abandonment from the past and be able to finally put that to bed and know who you are and know what you deserve? What if you could finally learn how to bring love and respect back to the way you communicate? What if you could learn actually to resolve conflict quickly, and rather than just let it linger and let it keep the tension and the frustration in the house, right? So really learning how to break out of those patterns is so, so key. Yep. And then what if you could learn how to operate not out of your hurts and your pains and your past, but out of your strength and who God is calling you to be and who he could empower you to be with his help when you reconnect with him. Because here's the thing, guys, if you're a Christian and your marriage is struggling, most likely your walk with God could be struggling too. We could be getting frustrated with God. Why aren't you hearing me? We could be distancing ourselves. We could be kind of neglecting our time in the word and in prayer. Some of you might be, even more clinging to the Lord and saying, help me. I can't do this anymore. But here's the thing. If you could learn how to operate out of your strengths and out
So
of
true.
the uniquely beautiful and incredible ways that you are wired as an image bearer of our great God, the marriage can change so drastically.
It's true.
So drastically. What if you could learn how to partner with God, right? Rather than blame him or just hands off. I've been praying and nothing's changed. Like, we're called to walk in obedience. We're called to confess and repent and turn from our sin. We've got to be able to have that called out, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing, many of you need to just learn new skills of how to listen, to be heard, not and to hear, not to respond, right? You might need to be equipped with tools to regulate your heart and mind, to be able to think differently, to be able to see things from a different perspective. There is so much you can do to save your marriage. And if you're willing to do some or all of those things, what I'm here to tell you and what Scott's here to tell you is everything could change. The whole dynamic could change. Your spouse will respond differently. Whether the marriage can be saved or not, we don't really know. But if you say, you know what, we're done, there's nothing I can do, the marriage is already done. But if you are willing to go first, and if you are willing to say, you know what, there's a lot I can do. There's a lot I need to work on. I can't control you. I can't force you. I can't make you see, but I can show up. Yeah. I can get the help I need, and everything can change.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I think is coming through, we're not directly addressing this, but it is coming through, which is the other thing that we hear people say, it takes two. It takes two people to save them. If I can't, I'm willing, but my spouse isn't. Sarah is living proof, as are many others who have gone through our program, that even one can change the dynamics with the Lord's help. And here's the thing. The other part of it that we're saying, but we're not saying, but we are saying, is that we're partnering with God. You did say that.
100%.
Like if we are there blaming him, we cannot partner with him. If we are showing up in victimhood and oh, poor me, we cannot partner with him. And usually, almost all the time, when we start walking the path of healing with people, there is a lot of stuff that needs to go. And a lot of times they're living in depression. They're living in a place of beating themselves up. They have a poor self-esteem, and they're living in a constant state of negativity. And they've cultivated something other than what is true. And if you're living in that place, with the right help, we can, and the Lord's help, clear that stuff out, get massive healing in those areas so that you can show up the empowered version that you said, the new creation in Christ. Yeah. And when you do that, you truly can partner with God. Because how can you partner with God? How can you hear his voice and the leading of the Spirit of God if you are constantly cultivating, I'm just a loser, I'm just a failure, there's nothing that can change, I can't do anything, there's nothing that can happen. It's like saying, God, you're powerful, but I don't believe it. Say, God, you're God, but no, you're not.
There's a mic drop right
there. Are we going to partner with God? Because if he is God, the statement, there is nothing I can do to save my marriage, is inherently a lie. Inherently a lie. Yeah. If we step into what is true and what God says of us, over us, to us, and get healing, clear that stuff out, step into out of negativity, out of depression. I was on depression meds for a long time, guys. It's possible. It's possible to get, with the right help, to not need that stuff anymore. Not just quit it, but with the right help, move out of it so that you don't need it and you can wean with your doctor. Guys, I'm living proof of that. When you cultivate something else, so much change is possible. So guys, what we want to encourage you to do, if you're out there and you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is so convicting, this is so helpful, I'm so encouraged by what is possible, we want to encourage you to book a call with us. You can do that at turnaroundmarriage.com/call, but we want you to book that call if you're ready for action. Do not book the call if you're wanting to get on the phone and placate your conscience and more point the finger at your spouse. Why waste your time and mine? What's the point? Don't get on our phone if you're just wanting to just blame, just wanting to point the fingers, or just be heard. Get on the phone if you're ready to take action because you realize you're a sinner and that you need to take ownership. And you realize that you took that vow and you meant it. Get on our phone if you're ready to move forward with a real strategy of healing for you and the marriage at the exact same time. You can book that again at turnaroundmarriage.com/call. Basically what we're saying, if you're like Sarah and ready to take ownership of your half of the street, or even if it's 90% of the street or 10% of the street, are you ready to own it like her and step into action today? If so, we're calling you to book that call.
Yes. We will talk to you soon. Book that call at turnaroundmarriage.com/call. Guys, there's hope. Our God is a God of the impossible. He's a God who makes broken things new again. He's a God who brings dead marriages back to life. Scott and I have the privilege of having this front row seat to what God is up to when people are ready to be open to his spirit, open to his leading, align with his word, prioritize their marriage, get rid of the stuff that's no longer serving their Christian marriage, and put in to practice the things that will help it to thrive and come back to life again. If your marriage feels done, the beautiful thing is there can be a brand new marriage.
Absolutely.
With your same spouse. You have to start something new. Let's build something new together. turnaroundmarriage.com/call.
Does not the word of God say, did not the Lord say, behold, I make all things new?
All things.
That's what he does. And I'm so thankful. I can't see the name, but I needed to hear this right now. Y'all are on fire. Thank you so much for that. And I'm so glad that the Lord is working through this. And I'm praying that it's going to hit whoever else needs to hear this today. Until next time, you can find us at turnaroundmarriage.com. Lots of love. Talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.